gentlemen, um, this is a COVID-19 vaccination sensitization campaign. It's a town hall style, and we have experts here to tell us more about the virus and the vaccine itself. The reason for this uh, town hall is to kind of throw more light on some of the doubts that people have out there about the vaccination, and to make sure that as many people as possible understand why they need to take this vaccination, and by so doing would save a lot of lives out there. If we don't do this, a lot of those crazies that we have out there would be given a lot of credence. And we hope that this sensitization campaign would go as wide as possible so that a lot of our brothers and sisters can get vaccinated and stay away from this. So we would start with personal introductions and then subsequently your presentations. And we would then have questions from people who have questions to ask. We also have one of us, Unique, who collected some questions from members out there that will be posed to you guys to give us some answers to. That said, we'll call on Major Thierry Foupa to start with the introductions. Thank you very much for accepting to do this, by the way.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you everybody who signed up to attend this COVID-19 vaccine sensitization. I am Major Thierry Fouap, and I am the OIC of the COVID vaccine clinic at McDonald. I'm here Center in Fort Eustis. So I graduated from medical school in Mali, and I started working to the public health sector over there. And I came back to the US, where I completed an MPH in public health with a concentration in environmental health. And I'm actually completing an MBA in healthcare management. And I've been appointed to run the COVID vaccine clinic here at Fort Eustis. And with that, we did an extensive, I don't want to say study, but we went in and learned what the vaccine was, because as a public health professional, we would like to communicate to people how safe the vaccine is, and why we should all go and get the vaccine. Thank you, Roger.
Nice. Thank you very much. And we are sure that your background is going to give a lot of light to some of the darkness we already have about the vaccine. We would like to move on to Major Aretako. Over to you, sir.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So good morning to everybody that's online, or good afternoon, whatever part of the country you are. So I'm Takoa Rembi. I'm a board certified internal medicine and cardiovascular disease physician stationed out in Joint Base Louis McCord at Madigan Army Medical Center. So I'm not a just a disclosure. I'm not a virologist, nor am I a immunologist, but the COVID virus has a lot of cardiovascular effects that we've been seeing, and that is why I took an interest, especially in what the post-exposure sequelae is going to be looking at our military population. So when Major Thierry wanted us to do this, I felt it was good to at least make sure we encourage our community to go out there and get vaccinated. One, so we can at least get back to some semblance of normal life, and not even that, but most importantly, try to protect our families. So I'll be by for moral support for Major Thierry to weigh in on any of the medical stuff related to the vaccines.
Thank you very much, sir. And we really appreciate the fact that you agreed to be part of this. It's going to help a lot. We will also like to listen to Dr. Neba Valentine. Doc?
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am Valentine Neba, petty officer with the U.S. Navy Reserve. On the civilian side, I am a registered pharmacist with Walgreens. So for the past 2 months or so, I've been seriously involved in the vaccination campaign. So we started with the tier ones, going through nursing homes. So as of date, I have administered at least 150 patients per clinic for 7 clinics. So I'm at least, myself personally, I'm at least at 300 people that have actively immunized. So I really come on the practical side of things when it comes to COVID vaccination, and to dispel some of the myths that I go out there and personally talk about with people every day, be it patients, staff that we immunize. So when I saw the flyer about this town hall meeting, I was excited. I said, this is an opportunity to actually talk to my own brothers about the vaccine and dispel some of the myths and maybe answer some of the questions that they might have on the practical side of things. Again, I'm not a virologist or a scientist per se. I'm just the guy who's on the practical side of things. And I think if they have any questions or inputs from that end, I'm standing by and willing to answer as best as I can.
Thank you very much for the introduction. This is so important, especially because we know, when I say we know, I'm talking about C.A.M.P. We know that if we ever need you guys back to tell us some things about the virus that we might not have discovered now, we would still have you, because it is an ongoing process. You guys are still on the projects, trying to discover exactly what that virus is and how we can together fight against it. Major Thierry, we would give you the floor right now to do your thing.
Hey, thank you, Roger. Thank you, everybody on the call. And just to join my two other presenters, I mean, I'm not a virologist, right? I'm not an infectious disease doctor, but we have from what we learned, we decide to have our community answer the question we can answer, and if there are questions we cannot answer, we're gonna find answer for you later. But I'm gonna go with this presentation that we have. This was made by the CDC for vaccine confidence, and it give us these are the overview. We talk about COVID vaccine. It talk about the mRNA vaccine technology, the vaccine safety, and it kind of also give us the element of vaccine confidence, the strategy to build vaccine confidence, and the strategy how to talk to patients about the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm going next slide. So we talk about we hear about the clinical trials when it comes to vaccine. And there is an intensive work that go behind those clinical trials. And here are the phases of the clinical trial before a vaccine can be put out, even for emergency use authorization. So at the phase 1, we talk about 20 to 100 people, and these are all always volunteer. And we have to keep that in mind. Before we can get a vaccine, there are people who are making the sacrifice for science to go and be the first people to go and experiment, the vaccine. At this stage of the clinical trial, phase 1, the question is, we're trying to answer here is it going to be a safe vaccine? Are there going to be any serious effect, right? Side effect? How does the vaccine dose is related to any side effect? And is the vaccine going to cause an immune response? So these are the questions we're trying to answer when we get to the phase 1 of the clinical trial. Once those questions are answered, we move to phase 2. And as you see, from phase 1 to phase 2, the more we advance, the more people, the more volunteer we need. Right? At the phase 2 of the vaccine trial, they are looking at what are the most common short-term side effects of the vaccine. And the other question the researcher trying to answer on the vaccine on the phase 2 is, what's the body's immune response? And on the third question, are there signs that the vaccine is protective? So you can see from phase 1 and phase 2 how we evolve, right, to answer the question. When we go there, we go to phase 3. We're talking about 1,000+ volunteers. So because the number matters when it comes to clinical trials. At phase 3, how did the disease rate compare between people who get vaccine and those who don't? All right, that's why we talk about people, the two groups. during the cohort, you have people who get the placebo, you have people who get the vaccine. How well can vaccine protect people from diseases? So this is phase 3. At phase 4, the vaccine is approved, right? When we reach those 3 phases, at first the vaccine is approved. And the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, after all those questions are answered from phase 1 to phase 3, the FDA is going to approve the vaccine. And the only reason they approve the vaccine is if the vaccine is safe, effective, and the benefit outweigh the risk. And after the vaccine is approved, the research continue. The research continue to collect data, all right, for the long-term benefit and side effect of the vaccine. These are very important. And before the vaccine gets to the final approval, we have what we call emergency use authorization, which is why the COVID vaccine is now. We are under emergency use authorization, meaning the FDA approved the vaccine to be used and authorized the vaccine to be used, but it's not yet approved. So the vaccine we are using now is under emergency use authorization. It's not yet approved. And under emergency use authorization, the vaccine is not mandatory. It's a voluntary process. Whether you are a soldier, you are a civilian, it's voluntary. If you look at there is the form, the DA form, for us it's DHA form 207. Pretty much the form that you fill out to get your vaccine, it says that it's a voluntary process. For the military population, only the president can decide, can make the vaccine mandatory under emergency use authorization. Only the president, the commander-in-chief can make it mandatory. So for my soldier on the call, nobody can make you get the vaccine now. And it takes about 16, 18 months before the vaccine can become FDA approved, meaning it can become mandatory for everyone to use, just like we have the flu vaccine now. So the vaccine we are using now is not. So no one can force you out there to get the vaccine. But it's important to get the vaccine because people have gone through these 4 phases of clinical trial to make sure that the vaccine is safe. I'm gonna go on next slide here. So the 2 vaccines that have been approved in the to be used in the United States is the Pfizer vaccine and Moderna vaccine. So look at the number of people who were enrolled in those clinical trials. Almost 44,000 for the Pfizer vaccine and 30,000 for Moderna. This is 73,000 people who enrolled as volunteers who enrolled for the vaccine. And look at how many clinical sites per vaccine and how many states were involved, because the number matters. You want a lot of people when you do a trial, when you do a clinical trial, and look at the racial and ethnic distribution, right, for Pfizer and Moderna, and you can look at the difference. And we have, there is a low number for African American when we look at the Pfizer. Same thing for Moderna, and that can be explained through just because we look back to the history, in history of researches. Some of our African American brothers were involved in some of the shady study of, and that's why today they kind of, they're kind of reluctant to do this. But these numbers are very important for us. So the 2 vaccines we have on the we are using are mRNA vaccine, messenger mRNA vaccine. Here it's explained. The research on mRNA vaccine started in 1990. That's 30 years ago that people started doing the vaccine. And we're talking about, it carried the genetic material, and it teaches the cell how to make, a Harlem piece of spike protein. And that's what the mRNA vaccine does. And the vaccine, it do not affect our DNA. It doesn't. It doesn't affect our DNA. And mRNA doesn't enter our nuclear cell. It doesn't. So these are some of the myths we have out there that it's going to change our DNA. No, it doesn't. And it cannot give someone a COVID-19 vaccine. It's not a live vaccine you're getting. So it's a new technology that has been used, but it's not. The mRNA vaccine has been studied for influenza, Zika, rabies, and cytomegalovirus. So this study has been going on for 30 years now. Right? So it's very important to put it out there because the rumor is, oh, vaccine has been made quick, right? In less than 6 months, the vaccine has been developed. But there are 30 years study behind those 6 months that we need to take into account. So, and about the 2 mRNA vaccine we have, it's expected to produce side effect. Any medication, I know Dr. Neba won't contradict me here. Any medication you have out there has side effect, whether it's Tylenol, whether it's acetaminophen. So for the vaccine, we have, after the first dose, I took my vaccine, I took the Moderna vaccine, my first dose, I didn't have no side effect at all. But after the second dose, people may experience fever, headache, and or muscle ache. So this is normal for some people to experience side effect. And during the study, those side effects were experienced as well. But there were no significant safety concern during the clinical trial. So
Hey, Terry, can
yes,
I just interject and make one point here? So
yes,
these side effects are actually what we expect, because that is your body showing that you are forming an immune response to the vaccine, which is a good thing.
yes, thank you. Thank you. Very important point there. So, and it took, there is the 2 months of data of clinical trial, were collected and to identify, right, those side effects. So the safety of vaccine is a top priority. 4 phases of clinical trial involving a lot of people, a lot of scientists, a lot of agencies are involved, right? And these are independent body who are conducting the safety for the vaccine. So, and it has to be held in the same standard with all vaccine that we have. You have the FDA who's involved and who review all the documentation. You have a separate body, the Advisory Committee of Aviation Practice, who consider the safety of the vaccine. That means if one body it's okay, and the other body, agency is not, that vaccine is not going out for us to use. So, and then you have also the CDC who the safety of that vaccine. So these are a lot of agency involved into that study. And there is the safety of the vaccine is being monitored, as even now that we are taking the vaccine, is being monitored. After you get your vaccine, you take your phone, you can scan, the vaccine advanced reporting system, the VERS, it's called VSafe. You scan that. Once you scan the VSafe, they call you. If you do it before 2 p.m. the day of your vaccination, they will call you to start monitoring you, because they want to collect the side effect people are having. So these are all the systems that monitor the side. There is an active surveillance going on when people are getting the vaccine. So, and these are, how was the vaccine development timeline accelerated while ensuring safety? So they use clinical trial clinical trial network to monitor the safety of the vaccine while it's being developed. Right? And they will tell you that they started, the manufacturing was started while the clinical trial was still on their way. But the safety is still being monitored. And if at any time they realize that there is a safety concern, they will stop. They will stop. And the mRNA vaccine are faster to produce than traditional vaccine, which explains why we were able to get, in a shorter period of time, we beat the 10, 15 years that it takes to get the vaccine. But remember, there was a 30-year study behind it. And our agency with FDA and CDC, they prioritize the review, the authorization, and the recommendation of the COVID-19 vaccine. So we're gonna go on our next group here, which is the element of COVID vaccine. I don't know if Major Taco, you wanna run this? Are you there?
Yeah, move the slide down.
Okay. Yes.
So I guess the issue here is that people are hesitant to take the COVID-19 vaccine. And you can see when the general public was surveyed, only about 58% of the population actually said they were going to take the vaccine. And this was secondary to certain factors. People were worrying that, one, is the vaccine safe for them to take? 2, what would be the side effects? And of course, with everything else, especially during this pandemic, is how much is that vaccine going to cost them, right? We know that as healthcare workers, we should be the frontline people to, 1, take the vaccine ourselves, and then 2, talk about it so other people feel safe to take it. And I think the federal government hopefully is going to step in and try to make it where the vaccine people should receive the vaccine at no cost to them. And by doing so, we can help return to some semblance of normal life here for everybody. So I think the key here is if we can try to keep the communication open, so everybody takes the vaccine, the easier it is for everybody to get back to normal life. Move up. And overall, it's just how do we build trust, especially among the African American community, where with regards to vaccines and vaccine study history, we know it hasn't always been a favorable impact, especially from a governmental standpoint, especially with the Tuskegee men and the syphilis debacle that they went through. So it's all about how, as a society, do we build trust for people to say, okay, it might benefit me, my family, and my community if I take these vaccines. So when we, as a healthcare professional, I've already taken my 2 doses. So when I'm talking to patients, I actually make it as a recommendation that, hey, I think this is something that you should do, right? I don't say, well, maybe you should consider it. No, I say, I recommend you take the vaccines, especially for my patients who have other comorbid conditions. And then, like what we are doing today, just keeping an open line communication, talking to patients where they can find information about the vaccine, how the vaccine was made, the efficacy and the safety on the vaccine, and how it was manufactured. And we make those definite recommendations that, yes, you should take the vaccine. Scroll down. And then the strategies on how do we get people to really commit, be confident that, well, if I take this vaccine, I'll be all right. So like I said, the key factor here is building trust. So as healthcare professionals, we need to be honest and transparent with the community on what the vaccine, how it was made, again, the safety and efficacy, what is in the vaccine, and actually recommend that people go out and take the vaccine. We got to keep an open line of communication so people understand, not only am I telling you to take it, but I listen to what your concerns are and I try to address those concerns as much or as the best of our abilities. Scroll. So again, this is what we try to do every day in clinic. We got to be the ones in the forefront. I can't emphasize this enough. As the healthcare professionals, we need to show that, hey, this vaccine is important to take. So I can't be telling my patients to take a vaccine that I haven't taken myself, right? So I always start with the fact that, hey, I've already taken my 2 doses, had very minimal effects from it. I think if you have the availability and when it comes time to your tier to take it, you should try to take the vaccine. Just engage with everybody. Again, keep that open line of communication. Listen to what they have to say, what some of these myths about the vaccines are, and just have an honest conversation with everybody. The idea is here is that I don't think everybody is just going to be 100% wanting to take the vaccine, but I'm always willing to answer questions and address whatever issues or concerns they might have on why they don't feel comfortable taking the vaccine. Scroll. And then it's just like what we do every day in clinic. You got to be empathetic, right? When somebody expresses some form of concern, I have to sit there, listen, see where they are coming from, and then see where I can meet them in the middle. So we all leave that conversation with at least some information gained to say, okay, these are the facts about the vaccine. These are all myths. And then you show them where they can get this data themselves and look at it. Some people are always going to come with this misinformation, but at least we know certain sources, at least from a scientific standpoint, what information you can trust and what you can't. So you kind of guide them towards that process, and then try to break down or simplify the information so at least they can understand. And again, when I'm talking to patients, I don't tell them to consider the vaccine. I strongly recommend. So I make it clear enough that, hey, if I had the choice of doing it over, I would still take the vaccine. This is the only way out for us to get to some form of normalcy. Scroll. Keep scrolling. Okay. And then I already touched a little bit about addressing misinformation, because I think this is, especially among our African American community, we are coming from a place of history where with vaccines, it wasn't really a favorable outcome on our part. But we should understand the past and not forget, but moving forward, we should try to debunk those that are myths from what is actually happening with the COVID vaccine. So one, as Major Thierry mentioned, the COVID vaccine is not a live vaccine like pertussis or yellow fever that most of us have already taken, right? So you are not going to get the vaccine, you're not going to get the virus from the vaccine. The mRNA technology only uses that to introduce the spike protein that the body needs to form an immune response. So when you come in contact with the COVID virus, you already have antibodies to fight it. And you getting the vaccine is not going to make your PCR positive for COVID-19. So in all, after I looked at the data from both trials, I think taking the vaccine, getting the minimal side effects you get from it, which is actually an anticipated response showing that your body is actually forming antibodies, and having dealt with patients that have had COVID, even on young active duty patients, and seeing them post-COVID, I think the benefits of taking the vaccine strongly outweighs you getting the virus. Scroll.
Yeah, this is that was good. This is why we're gonna answer. We're gonna start taking question for the staff. Thank you, Major Harry. And we're gonna take question from the audience, and we're gonna we're gonna go from there. So that's kind of what we have. We have prepared for you guys to see that this is not, it's very important that we all get the vaccine. I got my first dose, and I'm waiting for my second dose on February the 5th. I'm here. There's no horn on my head. I'm still moving. I'm not dead. And I would tell you, the next day in the morning after I get my dose, and I had about 83 messages, people texting me, "Hey, are you okay? How do you feel?" All that. So I feel very good. I didn't have any side effect, nothing. And I would tell you, we did 1,300 people here at McDonald Center, and no incident, no safety concern. We are the one person who came to get the vaccine, and before she even got the vaccine, she passed out because she was afraid of needles. So that's but beside that, there's no concern. I went to Fort Bragg for one day to look at the vaccine process, and they did 4,046 people in 5 days, and people were lining up. So all we can tell you is that it's a safe vaccine, and we would like to encourage campers to get it done. I'm gonna pass the mic to Roger and to monitor for any question you guys may have.
All right. Thank you very much for the exposés and the slides. I wish the world could be watching, everybody could be watching. And I also hope that this is being recorded, because if you give me the permission, I would share it in all other groups where I belong, so that other people can learn from these facts. and kill some of the myths that we have out there. We had some questions that members already sent out, but since we have live members here, we would like to get questions from them. We would go from the live questions that we have here and then to those that were sent in through text. So over to you. If you have any questions, this is the moment to ask them. No question is stupid, none at all. Sometimes people write down their questions before reading them. So if there is a lot of silence, maybe somebody is writing down the question before asking. Paitia has a question. Paitia, you have the floor.
No, I really do not have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
What surprises me is, people have a lot of negative comments to say, come on, come, it's okay. People have a lot of negative comments concerning this vaccine. And the first thing I ask them is, have you taken the vaccine? They say no. Do you know anyone who has taken the vaccine? No. So why all this? We just have to try to encourage everyone to take the vaccine. Once it's available, trust me, I'll take it. And I think I was one of the first people to ask Measure, are you safe? And he just laughed. then my wife, you asked him, Measure, are you okay? He said, up to now, I'm not dead yet. And we laughed. So good job.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Do we have, I saw a hand, I saw a Barbara hand up. Is it still up? Barbara?
It's not up. Well, I got the answer.
Oh, nice, thanks.
Good. What was the question?
Actually, I don't know what was being discussed, so it might not be in relation to that. So I was just going to meet someone else after the meeting and ask the question.
Okay, thanks.
All right. In the absence of any question, I know some people are still thinking they might have some questions that they need to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, I think at this we have about 22 more minutes to be here. And you can text your family members if they have questions, they can always send them to you. And we have an opportunity to get answers to those questions right here. So do not hesitate to get those questions here so that we can answer them. Even if you think those questions have been answered in the presentations, it doesn't hurt to repeat it as many times as possible so that people get used to the right thing and, so that you can wipe some of those negative ads that we've had out there about the vaccine and coronavirus in general. That said, I would read out some of the questions people had out there verbatim. The question number one, lots of videos are going on social media platform of negative side effects on this vaccine. How do we convince people to take this vaccine?
Thanks, Roger. I would take that one if that's okay. So it's just there is a lot of disinformation, as we all know, out there. But people who post about this information, most of the time, do not know the truth behind the vaccine. They don't have any information. Some of this information I see in video. So you have a mass vaccination, and you have one person who had who became dizzy, after getting the vaccine. Are we surprised? No, we are not surprised. Even during flu shot, flu vaccine that we are used to, there are people who have side effect or who became dizzy sometimes it's just because they don't like the needle, for example. But the thing is, when you have that one person who became dizzy after the vaccine, that's the one person that will be videotaped and put online and say, hey, that vaccine is not good. Look at this person who became dizzy after the vaccine. I will tell you, as we are going through the vaccination process, if after 3,000 vaccine, I have one side effect, look, as a scientific, on medical personnel, I am happy. It's because when you look at the ratio, it's good. What we want to do is zero incident, zero side effect. But there are things that are out of our control. So the main thing is most of the information out there is not true. Most of the information out there are not true. I don't want to say all, but most of them are not correct. You have to dig into to find out. I saw one they were talking about, they give vaccine in someone in Israel and he died. And I went there to look at the information, and the patient who died 2 days after receiving the vaccine was a 75 years old with cancer, terminal cancer, a history of diabetes history. So the vaccine did not kill him. Right? So that's what we need. So when we have someone, information out there, we have to go and look into what that information is about. And most of the time, I would tell you that there is something else behind that information. So and that's what I would like to encourage us to do. Every time we see this information, go and dig, go and find the truth behind that information, and you're going to find out it's not the vaccine. There are people out there ready to share fake information on purpose. Right? They are ready to do that, and sometimes it's because they don't know. Right? They don't know. I don't know if that answers the question. If anybody want to chime in?
Yeah, thank you, Major. You are so right. It's people get a lot of popularity, sometimes negative popularity, but they are happy that they were on social media spreading some of these negative effects of the virus. Some people go as far as doing photoshops just to put them out there and make a name for themselves. So people are making a lot of money from negative sensitization. I saw two hands up. We'll start by taking Letiafak. Sir, what's your question? Letiafak Fondon.
Greetings, gentlemen. Greetings, campus. Major, just that was partly the question I was trying to ask, which Major Thierry answered. Secondly, I was trying to find out. Okay, take a scenario where, for an individual, the negative side effect is more than the purpose, the intent of the vaccine. Who takes care of that situation? Is it going to be on your insurance or the government? Because I know it's voluntary. So, like, how does that individual go about that?
Can I answer that one? So first of all, it's important to identify what side effects we are, because I know some of the side effects for every vaccine, for the COVID vaccine, they have a screening worksheet that you go through. We ask some of the big questions. Like, for example, when I go out to do my clinics, if you've had an anaphylactic reaction, like really bad reaction, I don't even include you in my. Hey, what's wrong? I don't even include you. You don't get vaccinated that day. But now, for minor effects like Leroy, hold on. Yeah, sorry. So minor effects, because I've had people who've had like a drop in blood pressure and stuff like that. We have epinephrine pens ready to address those. But so far, I've not had a situation where somebody's had a really life-threatening side effects that require maybe medical intervention or anything like that. But I don't know if it's asking from the military side. Maybe Major, you can address that part.
So let me just chime in for a second. I think I'll double tag to what you just mentioned. So we've had one anaphylactic reaction in the US, and then we've had one anaphylactic reaction in the UK from the vaccine. Now, I think in addressing your question in particular, so for our military population, the one good thing we have on our side is whatever effects you get from the vaccine, that is addressed by TRICARE, and as a follow-on, when you do leave the military, that will be addressed by the VA. So in our community, I don't think that is an issue, because whatever effects you have from the virus, you are covered. On the civilian side, I can't speak on that, because as of right now, the vaccines are considered voluntary only. So it's not something where your insurance covers it as a mandatory vaccine. So that just needs to be taken into consideration for civilians. But I think being in the military healthcare system, you are covered for anything that the virus might cause as a long term. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you, gentlemen. It did. Thank you. You cleared the air. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you for the question and thanks for the answers. We're now moving to Baron. I see Baron's hand up. Baron.
Yes, thank you, SG. And before I ask my question, I want to express my personal gratitude to the presenters. Like Major Retired Gante always says, this is camp, campus using their knowledge, their experience to help fellow campus. So this to me is even greater than just the information we're getting. The fact that it's coming from one of us, from our own community, means a lot to me. And I think that because it's coming from us, it gives more weight to the information that we get, because we're not getting some stranger coming to tell us something who doesn't know our background. So that I think it gives a triple impact on the information. So thank you very much. That aside, my question is about the side effects. Major RMB mentioned something about the side effects in the lines of side effects being your body building antibodies to fight the virus. I was just wondering, is there any correlation between these side effects and the immune system, wherein the more side effects you have, the more your body is working in building these antibodies to fight the virus if and when you get the virus? Thank you.
So yeah, Byron. So theoretically, in theory, that is what we know, that if you have a more robust response to it, you are definitely going to have more side effects per se from the virus, which is why we say you might not have any symptoms at all on your first dose, but on the second dose, because now it's a more robust response from the body, you might have the fevers, the chills, the muscle aches. So in theory, that's what we expect.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
And for that, for the military, after we completed 13 of those years, the most complaint that we received was the sore in the location of the site of injection. That was the main complaint. Usually the next day or 48 hours prior. And really, I had to recommend to one of the soldiers to go to sick call, so and get and sleep to go home, and because I'm talking about 95% of people did not complain. I know I have one of the senior NCO who's she's retiring, and she happened to have a breakdown on her faces, but 2 days after she get the vaccine, so she put that on the on the vaccine. Like, she had a breakdown on her faces, but it's not listed among the side effect of the vaccine after the clinical trials. But look, she's going out. She put on her file. She's doing her medical. And look, if it helps her, fine. All right. And now she's good. She's completely recovered. Her faces was a little bit I don't use it. It was different for a couple of days. It went into her file. So it's all good. But we really did not see any in comparison to what we see on going through WhatsApp or the social media, we did not witness that. I'm talking about, here at Fort Eustis, and we have a sync meeting with all the installation, also in the Atlantic. I'm pretty sure in the Pacific, or they also have a sync meeting every Tuesday. So we discussed that, in the Atlantic region of the Army to kind of see is there any serious cases where someone has, and when I went I was TDY at Bragg during the vaccine, the phase 1 dose, there was a lady who was taken to the ER, but that lady shouldn't have get the vaccine in the first time because she always had an anaphylactic shock after the flu shot. So she was medically examined, but she wanted to have the COVID vaccine so bad that she went and get it. And then she ended up in the ER, and during the interrogation, that's where the doctor realized that she shouldn't have get the vaccine, but she wanted to get the vaccine. And after a day, she went home. So we have not really seen the scale of side effect I see on WhatsApp going through, or on Facebook, and we have not seen that. Being on this, I don't know. I know I'm talking about on the Army side. Major Are is talking the Army side as well. Dr. Neba, who is in the civilian side, he can maybe share his experience, see if the scale of side effect on WhatsApp is the same that we have, actually when you are conducting the vaccine. Over. Is Neba still there? Maybe it's dropped.
All right, looks like he's not available.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
With some technical issues. My son started to act.
So I just want to know if, and for us on the Army side, I was saying that we have not seen the scale of side effect you have on WhatsApp, when it comes to the vaccine. There are a lot of side effects you discover on WhatsApp that you don't see actually when you are doing the vaccine. So I was asking you, being in the civilian side, have you seen, what have you seen? What have the complaint of people coming who get the vaccine?
So I will first, so the biggest thing I've seen, and I would say personally for myself, because I took my second vaccine on Monday. So the biggest thing I didn't have any side effects on the first vaccine at all. And that just goes in line with what Major Are was saying. We don't expect to see a lot of side effects of the first vaccine. However, the biggest thing on the second vaccine, which I had, of course, the soreness was there, but I realized I had headache. I had a bout of headache for about probably half of the day. I had some headache, but I had some Tylenol. So I already expected that. So that is the kind of stuff I'm seeing out in the civilian side. Just headaches. The closest to a scare that we had was a lady, she felt doozy and she started, she felt like she was going to pass out. But come to find out, she does that all the time. Like even as soon as you present a needle to her, her body goes into some sort of, I don't know if it's a shock mode or some sort of protective mode. But that's so far out of the 7 clinics I've done and done at least an average of 150 patients, I have not had any major scare. Everybody, and mind you, a lot of these people, I go to nursing homes. So they are 75, 80, 60 and above. We do staff as well, but our target is the older people. So when I hear all these myths on social media, and I'm thinking I say, I'm just coming back from immunizing 150 people who are 65 years and above, and they are actually fine. And I go back on the second round of vaccination and third rounds, and I still find them doing fine. So it's sad that we have to deal with this, but hey, I understand what's going on. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for these answers. We have just about 5 minutes to go and we have a hand up. Foletia.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen and ladies. It is with great pleasure that I'm joining you guys, and this is a wonderful opportunity for trying to clarify some of the questions and issues that we have concerning this COVID vaccine. So the question or the issue that I'm having is, I tested positive in October, and I realized when I came back to work that I had a series of issues, specifically on the left side of my body. I've been going to the hospital on several occasions. I've gone through MRI, I've gone through all these other tests, and they cannot identify what is wrong with me. Breathing is horrible and all that stuff. So the question I have is it still advisable for me to take this vaccine, given that I have these complications that are the residual effects of my positive test?
Yeah. So you fall into a category of patients that the data will actually show that you should still take the vaccine, because from what we know is that normally with every other virus, after your first infection, your body develops antibodies. But with the COVID vaccine, we were seeing cases of reinfection. So somebody had the first episode in about April, and then in September, October, they get another bout of COVID, even after testing negative in between those two episodes. So we know that you can see there are cases of reinfection. We haven't seen cases of infection. We know the efficacy of the vaccines, both either the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine, is about 95%. So it's not 100% efficient, but at least you will be protected. So even after contracting the virus, the recommendation is still that you go ahead and get vaccinated. And I'm sorry you've been going through the symptoms post COVID, which is really what we've been seeing. And this is why I try to encourage people to get vaccinated, because we really, truly don't understand the long-term sequelae of COVID-19, because it just hasn't, it's a different kind of virus. It hasn't been around that long for us to start seeing what the post exposure complications are going to be. Your case is not alone. I can tell you that I've seen a lot of patients that are being referred to cardiology for shortness of breath after recovering from COVID. They still have lung issues that we just don't understand why the lung parenchyma itself is getting fibrotic after they've cleared the virus. I know you've had MRIs, you mentioned you've had MRIs, but the thing with COVID is that it makes your body a hypercoagulable state. So you are prone in forming blood clots that we don't understand why. Mm-hmm. So that might be accounting for some of the symptoms you're having with just the left side of your body, even with a negative MRI. So that should still be something that if you haven't been evaluated by neurology, you should probably talk to your primary care for them to send you to neurology for a proper evaluation.
Yeah, looking into that as we speak. So yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks. No, anytime. Thank you so much for the questions and for the answers. I see no hand up, but
if I may, Roger, yeah. I would like to add to what Major Harris says. This is on the Army side of the house when we're talking about as we're going through the vaccine. He's gone. Mark is still here. So because for those who have had the vaccine, the virus before, test positive for COVID, when it comes to the vaccination process, what the recommendation, the guidance we receive is on the prioritization that the DoD put out. So the recommendation was to put people like you not on a priority list, right? So because there is that, the majority of people who test positive for vaccine develop in 90 days, at least a 90 days immunity. I know there's a study that came from UK talking about 5-6 months immunity. So yeah. We had the guidance to to push you guys, on after that immunity period that you receive from the vaccine. So don't be surprised to try to get your vaccine, and if there is not enough, they're going to put you, they're going to postpone, probably going to put you on a phase, depending on how fast they are doing at FOBRAD, you're probably going to be on the phase 2, on the phase 3. Or most of the time, they're going to put you on phase 3 because you are not they won't put you as a priority, just because you had you tested positive for COVID before. So
yeah, so the guidance is for you to actually not get the vaccine until 90 days from the day you tested positive.
Yes.
But I thought he said he tested positive in October.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he should be way past his 90-day window. So
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. It is 2, but I have about 2 unanswered questions. Maybe short answers would go a long way to satisfy the people who ask them. How long can one who contracted the virus go before being infected the second or the third time?
I think that was the answer. I just
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, yeah, he just gave that answer.
All right. What paperwork? This is from the Army. This is from the military side. What paperwork do you have to sign before taking the vaccine?
If I may, it's the DHA form 207 that they give you to fill out. So, and when you take that form, you see it's voluntary. It's not, you have to fill out that form. You have to give your consent to get the vaccine. And when you go through the process, you always have the possibility to stop, ask question. It's recommended to have a physician on site in the screening room. Whether you're in the Navy or in the Army, I went to Portsmouth, the Navy Medical Center, and that's the process. When you in the screening room, there is a medical provider to answer any question you may have before. Remember, we have to triage. If we find out you are not eligible to get the vaccine, you won't get it. Right? We had in our situation, there was a pregnant woman who came in, and we had to send her back because during the clinical trial, there was no pregnant woman involved. So we don't know the risk that the vaccine posed to a pregnant woman. So most of the time, we wanted to talk to your provider. So you use that DA form 207. You read it. If you want to ask question to the provider, you're going to answer your question. Then you give your consent to get the vaccine. And one thing I would like to point out, the Army is also collecting information for those who don't want to get the vaccine, those who decline the vaccine. We're looking for those. So if you don't want the vaccine, you can decline and still drop those papers. This is for, on the Army side. It's not mandatory for the civilian, but all the soldier, as you're going through, they're going to ask you your declination file if you don't want the vaccine. So they're going to put that into MedPros. And I'm going to anticipate the reason.
Once it becomes FDA approved,
yes,
you'll be mandated to get it.
Yes,
they'll go out and pull those names.
What's that?
Yep.
They'll go out and pull those names.
At that point, you'll be voluntold.
You'll be voluntold, exactly.
Yep, exactly.
So I guess it was a trap then, because I think it was 2 weeks ago we had all those questions, asked us about, why you don't want to take the vaccine and stuff like that. So they didn't tell us exactly why they were asking those questions, but everybody, all my soldiers, everybody, we did answer no, we don't want to take it, we don't want to take it and stuff like that. So I didn't know that's where they were going with all those.
That's where that is going. It's
that's
just to make sure now during the voluntary phase you are good to go. But once it's FDA approved, you'll be voluntold.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that, though.
Yes, no, you will be.
Right.
Yes. So nobody can make. I want to make the precision, because on our population, the younger soldier, right? We talk E4 and below are those who don't want the vaccine. The majority of them don't want the vaccine. It's okay. It's okay. If someone wants to force you, you can go to legal IG. It's normal for you not to get the vaccine. So But as we put that, we upload those into your Alta Med Pros. In 16, 18 months, once it become FDA approved, it can be shorter than that. And then they're going to go back and pull all those names. And then at that point, you're just going to line up like in basic training.
But I just want to caveat that this is why we do these forums, right?
Yes.
Because we understand it's the junior soldiers that don't want to take the vaccine, but the senior NCOs and leaders need to be having this open-minded communication with your soldiers, because guess what? It's also those junior enlisted soldiers that are not following the wear your mask. They don't care about social distancing, and they are not doing the stuff that they're supposed to be doing, right? Because they are the ones that end up in my clinic post-exposure with all this. They can't PT no more because they can't breathe when they run. It's usually the 18 to 24-year-old population. So we need to keep reinforcing, having these conversations with them, letting them know why it's important that they take the vaccine.
That's my age group.
All right. I do not have any question myself. It is 2:06, and for some reason we have one person who has their hand up and is dying to get answers to his question.
If I may, Major Ari, I know you are on a schedule, so
yeah,
please,
I got 10 minutes. It's okay.
yeah, feel free to drop it, anytime. Please, I know,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking. I know you are, I'm not working this weekend, but but I know you are. So
No worries, no worries.
Yes.
The question is from O.
Okay, greeting to everyone. I just have a concern. Like I know we've been talking about those you feel the form, okay, you don't want to get the vaccine. So let's put it this way, like the call in your unit, like everyone needs to take the vaccine, and you said no, you don't want to take the vaccine. I say, okay, that's fine. You don't need to, since you have to volunteer to take it or not. And the next day you get affected by COVID-19. So do you think that right to maybe to say yes, you don't want to take it anymore would be something that have to be looked upon? Like, since some people may have the option not to take it because they don't have to, but at the end they turn around and have COVID-19. So how can they address situation of that nature?
So the issue here is because the vaccine is not yet FDA approved. The FDA has released it as emergency use, but it's not FDA approved. So the DOD cannot mandate anybody to get it. It's just that simple. Only the commander-in-chief can make a mandate for us to get the vaccine. So at this point, it's going to remain voluntary. Life is life. You can't, if somebody refuses to take it today, get COVID vaccine tomorrow, TRICARE will treat them just the same. It's not, we can't fault somebody for getting the virus. They're still going to get treated just the same. So unfortunately, unless the FDA approves it, it's still going to remain voluntary. But I can't emphasize enough for leaders to talk to their soldiers and just be empathetic and answer questions, keep an open line, be transparent, and talk to them on why they recommend that they get the vaccine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, unless there is a life-saving question that needs to be answered, I am going to end by saying thank you very much for giving us this kind of lecture on this. I've not attended any of these since this started. I've only been watching my own, I would say, briefing, COVID-19 vaccine briefing from the media. And sometimes it can be very misleading. And I know a lot of people are exposed to such briefing out there. So thank you again so much for letting us have you. And like I said at the beginning, we would at some point ask you to come back again and talk to us about the development of the virus itself. We know that the strands are changing. We don't know if the vaccine is going to change and what is going to happen. We would like to have you back for more information when the time comes. And before I let you go, that my capital question: is everybody here comfortable for me to share this video?
Yes.
Yep. It's okay with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And with that, except the major has something to say, we've come to the end of the presentation. Those who want to stay and do our usual thing can still stay, but